This entire video is just me judging books by their covers. I literally told myself, this is going to be such a fun, silly little video idea. I've gone ahead and pulled, I think, about 50 books to prove my point. I forgot the bit where I've like literally never had a chill bone in my body. Hello and welcome back to my channel, or hi if you're new. I had this idea of tier ranking different series editions of classics, which series of editions I like the most, for which reasons, and which ones I think are absolute trash. That's today's video. I was excitingly telling my mum about my idea for like a silly little video, and that was a mistake. My mother is an academic, so she told me I'm not allowed to do this video unless I put a disclaimer at the front. What disclaimer could you possibly have for a video like this? She has said that I'm not allowed to judge them for silly little things, and that if you're looking for critical editions of texts, you have to judge them based on the academic who has edited the individual books or the book series as a whole. And as ever, my mother is right. So if you're ever doing anything more academic, critical, you have to pay attention to who has done the translation and who has actually edited the book itself, how you make those critical judgments and how you discern that. I'm not entirely sure, I will be honest, but I can tell you which editions I like, because like that's what I'm qualified to do, right? So for the purposes of this video, my rankings are God tier, love, 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 acceptable, and absolutely not. Because there are some of these series that I will just never ever buy from again, for various deeply opinionated reasons. If you too like having opinions on things like paperweights and flop of books, you have come to the right place, especially if you like to complain about paratext. So the way I'm going to do this is I've loaded up a sample of one of the editions into this thing, and we're just going to go through and rank them. I'm going to do it in the order that my laptop has put these things into this website. First ones then that I'm talking about, the little orange penguin ones. These are more, I'll put it this way, they're more historic editions, shall we say. I think a lot of these are like from the 50s and the 40s, which I just think is pretty cool. There is a massive secondhand book market in London. There is just so much stuff that you can find secondhand. There's massive websites in the UK and, to be honest, around the world for buying secondhand books. I really quite like these old covers. But what I buy them for, and one of my best friends is the same, we don't buy these to read these. So these are one of the things that Penguin was very famous for, is these tiny pocket-sized books that are cheap. It's the whole thing of the advent of like mass-produced paperbacks, and Penguin is like one of the pioneers, well I think they are the pioneer of that, and these orange little books is sort of their flagship for that. You'll see this colour orange all over Penguin. They're different imprints, and like a lot of their styling is often very much attached to this colour, which I think is really interesting. The ones that I have are all books that I already own. You'll notice this with a few of the other editions that I have older versions of. It's like always the same like 3 or 4 books. A friend of mine does this with Evelyn Waugh books, because a lot of the like Penguin, these little orange ones, the Evelyn Waugh covers that she has are gorgeous. So I've essentially started doing that with Nancy Mitford. I've also done that with Daniel Defoe. I have a lot of their works in various editions. I don't buy these to read them. I buy these as like a decor item. They look beautiful because of just this consistent orange that you get, and I'm a big fan of that actually. If we're going to choose where I'm going to put it in terms of so they are going to live somewhere between love, love, love and God tier. I know for my friend, she would put them in God tier, absolutely. I, however, maybe I'm not that loyal, and also because I don't have that many. So, technically speaking, I use these as design elements and as collector's items. I don't actually read them. Where am I going to put you? I'm going to have to put you in love, 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 because I don't read these. So, there we go. We have my first one of 1, 2, 3, I'm not even gonna count how many there are. This is gonna be a long video. I hope you have got a beverage. If you haven't, you may pause now and go get yourself a beverage. I should definitely get some water for this. Okay, ooh. So next up are the Picador Collection. Picador do a series of more modern classics, as well as more, I think it's more recent fiction as well. That cover everybody loves of A Little Life, I have that as a Picador collection. I actually do really like these covers. I really just like covers that are individual but like wrapped within like a consistent series, and you will see that when I explain to you what my actual favourites. I have a favourite, would you believe this? I do have a favourite of these series, and I can explain exactly why as well. So these Picador ones are of much more modern things. I don't think they have any like classics in the way that you and I think about what classics is. We have Penguin, which is right here. That's probably the most famous one, but I really like these covers. For example, this is Cormac McCarthy, this one is The Road, and I bought some of his books, but I hated the cover. I hated this cover so much I took it back, because I really want these ones because I think they're really nice. I do think Picador are doing some like nicer and nicer covers. This is a video about classics, right? I think some of that stuff is not modern classics yet, but these are things that will over time become more modern classics. Let's just call them contemporary classics for the sake of this, but I really like these editions. One thing to then obviously know is the more modern a book is, and you'll notice this very fast, the more modern a book is, the less paratext it has, because paratext is all of the stuff around an edition that you get. The more critical an edition you get, the more paratext you have. Just take that as a general rule. Older a book is, and the more esteemed it is as part of the canon, the Western canon at least, the more paratext you will have. The more famous and more studyable and critiquable a book is, because it's a classic and it gives you more, you know, it has more to say, so we have more to say on it because of what it says, the more paratext you're gonna get. People have just written on it and they love it, so that's kind of how these things will work together. But yeah, the more modern it is, the less paratext. These though, I have noticed, they have introductions. So yes, this has an introduction to the text, but nothing else, you know, there are no notes, there are no footnotes, there's no timeline, chronology, anything like that. Very much like if you are a casual reader, the older a text gets, the more of like a life of its own it ends up having. With that, the introductions become important. I'm so excited. I'm currently reading Fahrenheit 451. That book is only, it's 60 years old. It predicts AirPods. I was reading this. How insane is that? The book is from the 50s. It predicts AirPods. The more of a life the text has, the more interesting the introduction is going to be, the more paratext that it collects, right? And that is very much influenced in why some of these editions are good and worth getting for some things and not for others. And relates to what my mum said earlier, which was like, it's about the academic who has done the introductions to these books and written the paratext and collected stuff around the text itself. So that's just the important information for you. This has an introduction. I like that. It's good for a casual reader. The edition of Fahrenheit 451 is great because it is a 50th anniversary introduction by Ray Bradbury himself. And it was really interesting to read as well because it talks about like how he wrote that. He wrote that in 9 days in the basement of a library, writing on a typewriter that you had to put in coins to get it to work. That's so fun. So yeah. Do read introductions if you can be bothered. You don't always need to. There is absolute value in reading them. That's why they are in the beginning of your books. They can be really boring though, so like I do get that. How modern these books are, but the introduction is all they need. So this is good. I was about to go, this is acceptable. So, where do we rank you? Where do we rank you? Where do we rank you? I really, do I want to put you in love? I have one of these. I have one of these, so where are we ranking you? We're gonna put you in acceptable. I'm sorry. I think over time this series will probably get better, or if I buy more of them because I pay attention to them. But I think for what they give you, for how old the text is, I think they're great. They're good for what they are, and that's important. I've done 2 and I've been talking for 10 minutes. Fuck. Okay, let's move on to what may or may not be my most controversial opinion. I can do this so easily. Penguin Clothbound Classics? Absolutely not. I fucking hate these. I have 2. So I have I have Madame Bovary, and I have the Count of Monte Cristo. When I bought the Count of Monte Cristo, I went around the bookshop and I looked at different editions. So I was eyeing up the vintage one that they had and the Penguin classic one, and I hated it because this is over 1,000 pages. They flop. You know, if you've watched my videos for long enough, I have a disdain for hardbacks. I don't particularly like them, but for a book of this like heft, this is a thick, chunky boy, right? There is no way that you can use this paperback. To make it buyable and affordable, they have to print it on much thinner paper. As a result, these books flop, and I cannot stand book flop. I know some of you love it. I cannot stand it. I think it's awful. I hate it. I literally cannot stand it. So I needed a hardback. Of the hardbacks available, this was the lesser of two evils. So that is the reason I have the Penguin Clothbound Classic. From what I understand, could somebody clarify this for me if I'm wrong, the text itself is the same as you would get in one of these. I think that is true. If it isn't, could somebody let me know? But that is what I've come to understand. You know that I don't like hardbacks, but do you want to know what my real gripe with these editions are? Look at my cover of Madame Bovary. Do you see how worn this is? I haven't read this. This cover is so worn just from me picking it up and moving it about. That is it. And it's so worn. And I think that is honestly really quite bad. These books are really expensive. These editions are expensive, and so I think for the fact that the whole premise of why you would buy this is because they're beautiful, the fact that that just instantly goes away, it is absolutely not worth the money. That they're not worth it. Absolutely not. I find them very disappointing. I know that people like them because when they get these glorious walls of just beautiful colours. I think it's lovely if you want like a nice sentimental edition, but the honest goddamn truth is they fade and it just looks really grim now. No. This for me is like a very solid absolutely not. And yes, this is probably my most controversial opinion. They're just not worth it. Ooh. I didn't mean to do that. That was a bit too disrespectful even for me. And I have got other copies on this table that are hardback editions, that are special editions. Even though the ones I'm going to talk about are much more expensive, they are much more worth it. I really do despise those copies. And it's also hard because, so my boyfriend's favourite book is The Count of Monte Cristo. That is such a classic boy book. And I told him that and he was like, no it's not. I'm like, you are well-read classic boy basic. And I love him for it, but I think it's one of the reasons I'm like dragging my feet of reading this book. It's not that it's 1,000 pages, I don't like the edition I have, god damn it, and I can't buy another one. I mean I could, but that feels wasteful, so. Okay, I've just been very negative with my most controversial opinion. My next one is the Norton Critical Editions. Right. Oh no, I have one of my laptops on it. Critical editions. What is a critical edition? If you're just starting your university journey or thinking about it, a critical edition is purely an edition of a text that has been edited by somebody who's qualified, so very generally an academic whose area of study is specifically this text or this person. They are the person who know the most about what you're about to read, and they are the ones who are giving you introductions, they're giving you bibliography, they're giving you notes, they're giving you absolutely everything. And I think the absolute best people who do this are the Norton Critical Editions. So this is the one that I have. I don't technically think this is a Norton Critical Edition. The Norton Critical Editions look like this. There are loads of them. If you are, they're actually pretty much the only books during uni that I would check out of the library. I bought most of the books I read. If you've watched my channel for long enough, you know very well I annotate absolutely everything. Don't do that in a library book, even in pencil, don't do it. I once said that it would probably be okay to do it in pencil, and then somebody left a comment saying, I'm a librarian, please don't do this, I have to go and erase all of it. So, respect your librarians, respect library books. No notes, no nothing, I'm sorry.
If you ever need more evidence for like filming Emma and editing Emma are just not the same person, let this be it. My point was, Norton Critical Editions can be expensive. They can be very expensive. If you're somebody who likes to buy a physical book, buy an Oxford World Classic, Penguin Classic of the book you're studying. Get the Norton Critical Edition out of the library as your companion to your edition, because you can annotate in this if you want to, and this is for reference. Got it? Got it. Okay. Would it kill me to just say something succinctly?
These are fantastic. My mum told me to get this one ages ago. I bought a Penguin version of the Decameron. This is the Decameron by Boccaccio, not Boccaccio. My mum did not approve of the translation I bought, the Penguin Classics translation. She said, this is bad, don't read it. She told me to buy this one. So this actually underscores what my mum said at the beginning, right? The editions matter, the translations. The translation, this is originally Italian, it's translated into English because I do not speak Italian yet. Me and Duolingo have a thing going right now. If you're studying a text, get the Norton Critical Edition. It's the text and everything else. My one gripe with this though. I just told you how much I hate book flop. That's how you have to know how I regard Norton editions, because but I will respect it and I will deal with it because of how good everything around it is. The reason I would want, by the way, that kind of paratext is because this is a text that is it 400 years old? 500 years old. More. But you know what will tell me? Giovanni Boccaccio, I hope I said that right, is 1313 to 1375. Like I said earlier, the older a text is, more than anything, it's more about how removed it is from your current context. You know, in terms of language, culture, history, distance, geographic distance. The more removed it is from what you know, the more paratext you will need. It's just giving you the context to the text at large. Your opinion and understanding of this will differ, whether you do or do not know that this was written as a result of the plague. Because that is the premise of this, is it's a bunch of people who are storytelling in a villa outside of Florence while the plague is going on. That's how they're spending their time. You have to know things about the text in order to understand the text and not be completely lost. This word is important, and Norton are fantastic for that, especially for recommending bibliographies. If you're studying a text and you're going to write on it, it's a cheat sheet. For God's sake, don't be dumb. You can just go through the bibliography, find those essays, hopefully they're somewhere free on JSTOR, and then you can read them. It saves you so much work, and it's one of the things as a student I didn't understand until much later. Look in these editions, they have bibliographies. If you're writing an essay, read things in the bibliography. It's so easy. The better a critical edition is, the more of the work that you should do with an essay has been done for you. So use it. It's for that reason that the Norton critical editions, they are going straight up, baby. God fucking tier. Nobody can change my mind on this. They are brilliant. So I would get my copy of the text, which I wrote in and did all my notes and stuff. Then the Norton critical editions, that would be like my companion essentially, even though they have the text in it themselves, but that was like my companion. Other editors do critical companion guides to books, so it's a separate thing from the text itself. I have a couple of them. Faber and Faber have a series. This is just Faber critical guides. This is my one on Samuel Beckett. Many of you will know I did that at school. I have Godot, the last stage direction from Godot, tattooed on my leg because, like, I'm an insane person. I don't really know what you want from me.
Another thing about Godot, this happened really recently, so this literally happened last night, so I want to tell you. I was at like an art gallery thing with my parents, and as he was leaving, I clocked Ben Whishaw, and I was like, fuck, just as he's leaving. But my parents were going to a dinner attached to the gallery like afterwards, and he was there. So I told my mum, I was like, tell this man how good he is in Godot. He was also Paddington Bear. You know, he was Q in James Bond. He was in like Black Doves recently. But he was so good in Godot. So I told my mother, go tell this man. And he was excellent. And she was like, she said that she spoke to him. It was very, very sweet. And like very happy to hear that. So I was like, my mother did as she was asked. And that made me very, very happy. So yeah, like what a coincidence. Like I was like, why don't I know that man? And I'm like, oh my god, it's Paddington Bear!
This is Contemporary Critical Essays, this is Palgrave Macmillan, and this is just bibliography and essays on Hamlet. So I use this as well at school. If you're writing essays on things, just get these. This is funny though. Of this, it's really obvious that I like read 2 of these, because only 6 pages have notes on them. That's so bad, Emma. Oh, 17-year-old me. Oh dear, oh dear, oh dear. But look, I just want to bring up the fact that these sort of books exist, and that the Norton critical editions exist, because this will help you. It took me a long time to learn these things. If you now know this at 18 as you start your degree, fuck, you know so much more than I did. But yeah, that's why they're important. I want to share this wealth of knowledge with you that that I have apparently accumulated. Heavy's expensive though. Oh my god, $16 for a book? The UK apparently has really cheap books. That's like a fun thing I've learned like more recently. The idea of spending more than like, because I actually bought a book in the US fairly recently and was shocked at how expensive it was. The UK, guys, we have it very, very good in terms of like, our books are really fucking cheap. So, okay, cheap in like a relative sense, right? Yay, okay, fun. Okay, this next one, right? The next one that I'm gonna rank is, many of you will have this. This is so funny that this went like viral. Like, this is Dostoevsky's White Nights. I'm flabbergasted at the fact that, like, Dostoevsky went viral. BookTok got obsessed with it. Like, I find that incredibly funny. I've read 10 pages of this. This is a Penguin classic, but this is very specifically their Penguin Little Black Classics books. And you know what? They are great. This is tiny, it fits in your pocket. I have a couple of these. This is £3, which I think is a little more on the expensive side. Some of these are like £1 or £2. This is great. The thing with these, one of the ways that they stay cheaper is there's no paratext. This is just like, you just get text. And you get what you'll pay for, which is just like not much. So it's just text, and you know, that's fine. For something that's gone like a bit viral, you just want to read it and get into it, cool. Like, it's not asking much of you. If you're reading, I read Crime and Punishment. This is still literally one of my biggest achievements ever, is that I read Crime and Punishment. That you do need to, you want a book like that, which is, it's 600 pages of just like Russia, but like Dostoevsky's Russia, just Dostoevsky's mind, right? I do think you need more paratext to understand his social world and like Russia at that point in the 19th century, and also just St. Petersburg in general. I think they should have had a map. They really should have had a map in that book though. If you read it, you know. He talks a lot about streets and talks a lot about walking around the city and street names very accurately and all that kind of stuff. So I would really have liked a map in that. That would have been great. This, you're not going to get anything like that because you're just paying for the words. That's sometimes why the prices in these will vary, is because it's to do with translators, it's to do with like, the author themselves has probably been dead for 300 years, but the academic who edited it is still kicking, so they need to get paid. You've got to think about it as that as well, in terms of like what you are actually paying for, because you're not always just paying for the paper and the words. With this, you're just paying for the paper and the words. But that's great, and the selection that they have is also quite interesting. I do recommend these. I saw this at the till and I was like, I'm gonna buy that. And then I bought it and I read 10 pages. I've read a couple of his things. I read Crime and Punishment, I've read Notes from Underground. This isn't Dostoevsky as I love him. I love my angsty weird little dude. This is nice though. And for that reason, and I just like, this fits in a handbag. My main specification for handbags nowadays are, do it fit book? It's no fit book, Emma no buy. That is literally why I choose to buy handbags. So this fits in like smaller ones. So I do really rate these. So for that reason, I'm gonna give you a love. I think they're fun. A lot of these are like historical little texts, and I'll show you my one of the suffragettes. So this is my one of the suffragettes. This one is £1, and it's lots of like little historical documents that have been curated. And again, because you're not paying royalties or anything to the people who actually written stuff in here, because they're all dead, so that it means that, you know, people can come along and they can curate these into selections, and then you can get it for a lot cheaper. Again, it's a thing to think about on why certain things are more expensive or less expensive than others. I like these, I really do. I think they're so fun. It's a slightly less scary way of engaging with classics, especially if you're like starting to dabble a little bit. So I can critique BookTok all I like. It made Dostoevsky go viral. It's such a weird thing to say. Do I recommend you read Crime and Punishment? Fuck yes, do. It's fantastic. But my so unhinged. If you read it, if you are reading it, the cast of It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia, if you read Crime and Punishment in the way that they do their episodes, it becomes the funniest, most unhinged thing you've ever read in your entire life. I like swear and stand by that. I think it's so entertaining. And you just have to, you read Raskolnikov as Dennis, and then you're like, oh my god. And then I feel like his character just makes more sense, and I just think it's very funny. Right, let's move on. Ooh, ugh. This is an interesting one. Oh my god, they drop it. So, these are the Wordsworth Classics. I don't really like these. I don't like these at all. This is an older one. A lot of older editions seem to are quite consistent in these kind of covers, and I do quite like that actually. You'll probably own a few of these if you studied English literature as a student. You will. For those of you who don't know, if you want to know the main reason why, they're really cheap. Wordsworth Classics are known for the fact that they are quite cheap, especially if you're buying loads and loads of books every single term and you want to buy physical books, you will end up with some of these. I don't like them when I have 4 of them. I can appreciate that they are consistent in their style, kind of. Why does my copy of Robinson Crusoe kind of look like it's got a sexy 80s erotica cover? Like, there's a shirtless man on here. That's ridiculous. Anyway, the point of these is, these are usually cheaper. They actually do have an introduction, works cited, bibliography, and a text note, which is not, I thought it was going to have a lot less than that. The reason that these are cheap, as far as I understand, is because they use the original texts. Once something's out of copyright, I'm pretty sure copyright is like the life of the author plus 70 years. So once that is no longer in copyright, you are free to do whatever you want with the text and you can publish it, which is what keeps these editions cheaper. I'm pretty sure they didn't have paratext, but they do. So yes, these are cheaper. They do have some paratext, but you have to be careful with these for two reasons. It can be that they're using an older version of a text. It can also be that they are using a much older translation. So with a lot of books, especially classics, you know, there might be translations knocking around that are 300-400 years old, or much more reasonably from the Victorians. So what I mean by that is the translation might just be rubbish. It might just be rubbish. So that's how they are able to keep those costs down, because they're not paying a translator, they're not paying the actual author, because everybody's dead. So that's one of the reasons they can be cheaper. And also I think they look crap, but that's purely aesthetics, Emma. So that's just why you should watch out with these, but they really do have their value in the fact that they're cheap. They're very cheap. They don't have any prices on the back. But from what I remember, they range from like £2 to £4. If you're studying it and you just need a physical copy, you can go ahead and get these. I would just recommend you choose ones originally written in English, not written in other languages, because then you have translation issues. So yeah, that's these ones. And so, you know, I don't want to call them acceptable, because I think some of them do have issues, and I think it's hit and miss. I also think they're fucking ugly. So I'm going to put them in I'm not going to tell you not to buy them. I'm not, because that would be wrong. They're cheap without being particularly cheerful, but sometimes you just need them. That is, you know, being a student is very expensive, so that's why they get and that's about it. So let's move on. Especially because I've been recording for 40 minutes! Oh my god, there's so many books on this table! Emma! Oh, did I not rank the camera on? Sorry, I'm gonna set up here. You're allowed to be in God tier. Ooh. Okay, weirdly enough, a lot of these covers I'm baiting are all about Dracula. I saw Nosferatu, and I fucking loved it. It's so good. It was so goddamn good. I really, really enjoyed it, and because I was looking forward to it so much, I bought Dracula. I bought it. A couple of these photos that I've been using to like rank the editions have been of Dracula. The Norton Critical Edition was Dracula, Wordsworth Classic was also Dracula, and this one is also Dracula. Let me find it for you. We're discussing vintage now, which is what I wanted to do. I love it. I think this is so fun. Right, but when I was buying it, I was in a bookshop. I was buying a book in a bookshop. Oh good heavens. First of all, look at how cool this cover is. I told you we were going to be like judging books by their covers. Look how cool this is. That is fucking sick. These are the vintage classics. This is the two piles. This and this. These are all vintage classics. I have a lot of vintage, I ransacked my vintage classics section, it's like falling apart on my bookshelf. They're all vintage classics, and I really, really love them. The reason that I bought Dracula, this copy, over different editions that were literally in the bookshop all stacked next to each other, I chose this because first of all, I just love vintage. Vintage is an imprint of Random House Publishing. You guys are amazing, and I just really, really love their editions. So the main thing that I actually chose this based on was text, rather typesetting and font. If you are new here, hello, I'm dyslexic. Would you believe it, from all of the books I've actually read most of these books, which is pretty sick. You can always tell if I read a book based on if the spine's cracked or not. That's all I will say. That horrifies some people. And it's also why I hate floppy books, because there's no point in cracking a spine. But anyway, I'm like obsessed with the concept of I hate floppy books. Blech. I chose this because the text is very clean, it's very clear, at least for this edition. Different, at least I know with vintage, the typesetting and fonts do change. They change quite drastically. They don't really, they kind of do they with class. You know what, I'm not going to say anything I can't agree and prove with, but I think they're much more consistent with Penguin Classics and Penguin Modern Classics. And Penguin just is a bit more consistent with typesettings. Vintage doesn't give a fuck. So that's the reason that I chose this, was because the typesetting, if you're dyslexic, bad fonts, small fonts closely crammed text, it can just ruin a book and ruin a reading experience. Ruin the book as a physical object, not the text as just the story itself and the words itself. But it can really, really influence my reading decisions, and what I spend my money on is just, can I, as a dyslexic, read the words? It's so incredibly basic, but it's this kind of thing of principle of universal design, right? You know, you get dropped curves to help people who are in wheelchairs, and then suddenly loads of other people can use it as well. I wish more publishers considered that when they're choosing settings and typefaces and those kind of things, because, you know, it's not going to be a problem for the average reader, but for me as a dyslexic, that is what sways where I spend my money. You will see this is why I have so much vintage classics. There's another reason I have a lot of these as well, but it's because I find that their fonts and typefaces very reliably dyslexia friendly, is what I'm trying to say. So that's one of the big reasons that I chose this copy of Dracula over the like 7 others that I had the option to. I did not think that I would buy a 19th century novel in like one of their editions, but the real reason is, first of all, again, cover is fucking cool. Then secondly, they are just, all of their spines are incredibly consistent. More or less, actually, I have a complaint to make. Or more a question that I've just shown you a bunch of really inconsistent spines. They look cool, and like the differences that they have are also very logical. So one of the things I'll bitch about in a second is my disdain for the irregularity of Penguin modern classics. Vintage is also quite inconsistent. However, if you look at how Vintage does their books, yes, they're a little bit inconsistent. They're still fairly consistent. Some of this is classic, some of this is 20th century, some of this is 19th century, some of this is 2,000 years old, and they all look good still together. Nothing is unreasonable, shall we say, in how it changes, which I do think Penguin Modern Classic is really guilty of. The change in discrepancies between all of these is logical, and I know why. I know that these ones have different covers, slightly different covers and slightly different spines, because these are all Murakami. This has a different cover and a slightly different spine because it's Handmaid's Tale, and they've just given them a couple editions do get slightly different treatment than the more classic ones, because these are late 20th century and they actually just class them under vintage. So that's what I like as well, is different kinds and different sorts of things still get given a fairly similar treatment, stylistically speaking. For example, even my Nancy Mitford history ones, they are classed as 20th century history, but still spine. Look at this, you know? This is fiction, Mrs. the Leopard, which I'm so excited to see on Netflix. I hope they don't fuck it up. My beautiful copy of The Leopard, which is 20th century fiction, fits very beautifully with my 20th century history. See? Very different covers. Still nice, still consistent. Big fan. I can just have this big block of red on my bookshelf instead of having like lots of different styles of spines. So what I really, really like about vintage is that their covers are all very, very different. I think their covers always really respect the content of the material. Their covers sort of like have this like fun, playful relationship with the content of the book and the style of the book. So like, you know, I think the style of the covers often very much reflect the style of the writing, and I think it's very fun. Look at this cover of The Leopard. I think it matches very, very perfectly what is inside. Look at all of my, where are they? Look at my Calvinos. I think, again, they match very well for the content of the book. Look at my Mishimas. That's not Mishima. Look at my Mishimas. The same thing. Look at my Russians. I've used both Tolstoy. This is The Death of Ivan Ilyich, and War and Peace, which, by the way, I've only read half of. You can, like, see because the spine cracks stop at one point. These are both, you know, chunky Russian 19th century big bad boys. But they're consistent. The covers are consistent. The spines are consistent, along with everything else, even though they are wildly different. What I would like to know, if anybody can answer, my question is, why are these a different colour than these? Does anybody know what the reason for that is? If anybody knows, I would love to know. They like respect like the editions and stuff. All of my Nancy Mitford's history ones all look like this. My Calvinos are respectful of one another. My Murakamis, oops, all works together. I've shown you an insane range of texts. Look at this copy of Medea. For those of you who've read it, this is literally such a fantastic cover. But they're beautiful in how they stay consistently inconsistent in such specific ways, but I just think they work wonderfully together. It is also incredibly illogical how and why things are different, with the exception of why is Mrs. Dalloway a slightly more purpley spine than, for example, my Dracula edition? Does anybody know? I would love to know answers to this. I also think that vintage, you know, I've shown you a massive range, but they're very consistent. I also think that they've had a massive glow up. These are old editions of vintage classics, but this is what they used to look like. And now I think they've massively upgraded. This is just incredibly generic. Whereas now they have a lot more individuality and personality, and I think that's very fun. The other thing that I have to say, and this is what I'm going to complain about with my Penguin Classics, right? One of the things that I really appreciate that they have done, they have changed their spines ever so slightly, but they have changed them in a way that is still respectful people who already have like 50 of the earlier versions, okay? At least when they changed from this to this, yeah, this is a massive change, okay? I completely agree with that. However, they have changed the spines. The text is slightly thicker, but that's it. It took me a little while to notice. So they are slightly different, but they're not irritatingly different. One publisher has recently changed the covers of their very famous series, and now I'm really angry about it. I wonder who could have possibly... I have a fucking bone to pick with you, Penguin. I'm pissed. So that's why I think... That's why I didn't buy Dracula in a Penguin Classic edition. That was it. Oh my god. Because they didn't have the old ones, they only had the new ones, so I didn't buy it. It's about the spines. I'll bitch about it later. But yeah, I'm a big fan of vintage classic. I think it's fun. It's like vintage respects like their series of books and the people who have a lot of their books with those spines, but then also it's very playful with the relationship of, you know, everybody judges books by their covers. We all do. Nobody's above that. So I like the relationship that the, you know, covers have with their content, but then still stays cohesive to the series as a whole. I think it's brilliant. Vintage, well done. I will say, they are really good for the average reader. I wouldn't have bought this in this edition if I was going to do an essay on it. But this, in terms of paratext, it's usually just very light paratext. It's usually like a little bit of information about an author, maybe an introduction, and I don't think there's any footnotes, any notes, not really. And that is pretty much consistent about most of these editions. It's very little paratext, maybe a foreword, but that's it. I love these, but they are for the average consumer. If you are studying these books, don't buy these editions. They have nothing to offer you. I didn't have many of these when I was studying, and I have more of them now because I haven't made that shift, you know, from having to read primarily something in a critical sense to just enjoying it, but still enjoying classics, because many of you are here for my content because that's what I tend to read. So yeah, that's an important thing to know as well. If you are reading these critically, don't read these editions. That's just, I'm putting my foot down on that. Don't read these are useless to you. But in every other sense, they're amazing. Look how fun these are. I really like these, and I will continue to buy many of them. The other thing is I'm a big fan of the paper. I don't know what it is. Vintage, I don't know what you have done. But yeah, I love your typesettings. I love the spacing. Ugh, these things make me happy. I freaking love the paper. This sounds so stupid, but it's like, this feels like reading a book, you know? They're brilliant. But they have no paratext, so if you're studying it, don't you dare buy them. But they're really fun if you're just reading for shits and gigs. That is my professional opinion. So, that said, I'm Dracula, you get to go in... Ooh, controversial. Is this God tier? I've been debating this for like a couple of days actually. Do I give it love, or do I put them in God tier? Ooh. I don't think I could give them God tier status. I think they're really fantastic, but they don't have paratext. They have like a pitiful introduction usually. I shouldn't say pitiful, but like the paratext is pitiful because all they usually have is an introduction. Again, great for the casual reader who likes classics, but I would not go around recommending these to students. That's why they don't get to have God tier status like the Norton critical editions do, because they really do deserve it. Because they've put in the work. Okay, right. Ooh, yay! Okay, this is so fun to talk about. I don't have a physical copy of this to wave at you. Oxford Children's Classics. I think I've mentioned here and there that I've nannied fairly recently. I love, love, love that job. That job is amazing. If you're a student and need a part-time job, consider nannying. It is so much fun. Especially because I was very lucky because the family I worked for, their kids, their family, massive readers. It's one of the reasons they ended up hiring me, which is really cool. Massive readers. If I was going to buy the kids a present, because I would for Christmas and birthdays, I bought them books. Obviously, I bought these children books because there's no better way to brainwash a child into reading than to get them pretty editions of things. And so I bought a few of these Oxford Children's Classics. These editions are gorgeous. These editions are beautiful. They're fantastic. I think the typesetting and the fonts are brilliant for children. And you know what? The covers are so fun. As a series, gorgeous, no notes, 10 out of 10, absolutely perfect. And do you know what else these editions have? Do you? They have paratext, but child appropriate, like things to, They have paratext that is appropriate for children to help them like understand the book. They have questions at the back of the book to help kids like understand. Somebody really thought this through and they did such a good job. And like, I am so loyal to these editions. Like when I bought books for children in my life, these are the ones that I have bought. You cannot go wrong. I thoroughly believe that one of the best ways to get kids into reading is to buy them pretty editions. They have little squirrel brains. You buy them pretty colourful things, they'll engage with it. It's great. So it is without a hesitation in my mind, the Oxford Children's Classics, they are absolute god tier. They are fantastic. You best believe, God forbid I have a child, I will be buying them, just box sets of these. Ugh, I cannot imagine any greater joy than me as a child receiving like a book like that. Yes, I definitely bought it for my inner child. I'm very grateful. Nobody's healing any inner child over here because this is what my mum did. She brainwashed us by buying us beautiful editions of books. Whoever is in charge of that series, it is so stupid, but it is so simple. There's something so like just colourful and well thought out. It's just, it almost sounds dumb. You know, like, kids have sometimes little squirrel brains. They do. They just like pretty things. And it's also nice because I feel like these editions are respectful of a child's intelligence. Like a kid can handle paratext, like a lot of the ones who are reading these anyway are probably a little bit precocious aneway. This is great, it helps you engage critically, it's fantastic, it's building all of these important life skills. So, absolute god tier of a series for classics, brilliant, no notes, fantastic. And I know some of you work in publishing, so somebody go tell whoever's in charge. Okay, next up, we have to discuss this because, Penguin, specifically Penguin Classics. I have so many of you, and you're beautiful. Why the fuck, with your new editions, is the spine different? I don't own one of these because it pisses me off so much. That's how like seriously I take this, and I know I'm not the only one. Penguin Classic has new editions of their Penguin Classics, and their spines don't match the originals. I'm using these as the originals. I know there's older versions, but that's what they don't match. I have, I maybe have 50? Surely not 50. A conservative estimate, maybe 25, 30 of these. Are you serious? I alphabetize everything. So then all of the spines are in a nice little line. You have changed the height of the little stripe. It doesn't match anymore. Have you actually lost your minds? I'm dead serious, by the way. Have you actually lost your minds? Now, my shelf, had I bought one of the new ones, which I haven't because I noticed they're different, it would go. Why would you do that? Like, I actually cannot fathom why on earth you would do that. I alphabetize my books. I do it by series. I can't buy a new one because it would have nowhere to live. I genuinely am so upset about this. I accidentally bought a bunch of the older Penguin Classics ones because I'm trying to get these editions. And then I actually keep buying the older ones because I buy them off AbeBooks and I don't get the picture that I asked, but I paid money for, but it's whatever. It's very upsetting and I don't like it that you've changed that. And I just cannot understand why you would have done that. What was wrong with these editions that you had to change the covers? They now look like this. Why would you do that? Why would you do this? I hate it so much. No, I'm just not a fan. I just, no. That's why the new editions, Yeah, right at the front, absolutely not. I'm like actually so annoyed about this. Vintage classics changed, but they didn't ruin everything. What on earth were you, who thought that was a good idea? I'm very, very upset by that, and I really, really don't like it. So that is immediately getting trashed, because I just cannot with it. So there we go. That's again another controversial opinion. I can't stand it. Whoever's idea with that, no. Why would you do that? It doesn't even look cool and modern, it just looks shit. Why are you trying to look more modern when the entire premise of your series is classics, is things that are older? Like, it doesn't even make sense in terms of like the values of your series. Gross. Now, back to the other editions. These are the... Let me get this right for you. So a lot of these editions, these nice, beautiful covers. These are 2000s, 2010s, not 90s. I think 90s are different covers. They kind of look like that. So now I've got my anger. Oh my god, I feel physically cross though. Oh god, I need to get over myself. Yeah, I'm pretty sure these are 2000s and 2010s. There's nothing wrong with these. Why would you have changed it? Let's leave the new ones. Let's enjoy the OG ones. Do you know how satisfying this is? It really gets me going. I love Penguin Classics. I really, really, really love them. I think there is something so incredibly classy and consistent, and there is something that really just strokes my ego, I'll be honest with you, about having all of these books and just how beautiful they look together, which is why I'm so angry that they've changed them, because now it ruins that. Penguin Classics are fab. I do not need to recommend them to you because you are their target audience anyway. Like, for God's sake, you're this deep into watching this video, like, you are the target market. Spines aside, I love this like classical choices for the covers. That's what pretty much all of them have. It's usually a painting. It just feels intellectual having them. Dare I say it, forgive me for the choice of words, it feels very dark academia. Whereas the Oxford World Classics feel light academia. Please tell me that one of you understands that and I haven't just said something completely unhinged. And a lot of these editions they cover different genres as well. Because remember, this is very important, I should have led with this, classics is not a genre. It's very important for you to understand that classics is not a genre. I think a lot of what BookTok especially obviously gets wrong is that it tries to treat classics as a genre. Saying that you don't read classic is such an unhinged thing to say because it means so little if you think about it. Like, okay, you don't read philosophy, you don't read history, you don't read fiction. Like, what do you actually mean when you say you don't read classics? I like these because they were consistent editions in philosophy, in epistolary history, in plays. This is Shakespeare. You know, it's brilliant that they have so many different kinds of texts, but because they fall under this very insanely broad term that is classics, that they have them. And if I can bring so many different sorts of books together and have them all on one nice bit of my bookshelf is amazing. And I really, really like that. There's something so nice about that to start off with. But also this idea that like I'll put it this way, it's like these are the classics. It just feels like ground zero when you start like learning about these things and looking into them. And you do feel smart when you have these. You're like, look at me. And one of the very good things about all of these editions, one of the reasons that they are worth buying if you're studying, all of those sorts of things, are because they have paratext. This is my absolute tome of Michel de Montaigne's essays. And what's brilliant is these are complete essays. They usually have good translations. Again, do this on a case-by-case basis. I cannot tell you who has good editions for what or what. I'm pretty sure Vintage have the good editions for Russian literature. For whatever reason, all of mine seem to be Russian. All of my Russian editions seem to be Vintage, rather. I would just read you the table of contents of my Montaigne to give you context as to why Penguin Classic is so good as a series of editions. It's got an introduction, notes on the text, annotations, note on the translation, explanation of symbols, appendices, chronology to the reader. I think... oh god, I love this edition so much. It's brilliant in terms of how they give you not just the text, but everything else. And because Penguin understand that, you know, these are the classics, they are older, they are usually translations or they're historic. This is a French nobleman, and this is from the 16th century. This better be from the 16th century. Renaissance. Emma, when was the Renaissance? 16th century? The 1500s. Oh put it that way. You just need more information and more context in order to understand the world in which Montaigne wrote and why. Knowing that changes your opinion and your understanding, rather, of what he writes and why he writes it. And that is so cool and so interesting, and I love it so much. So that is the biggest value of what Penguin Classics as a series of editions can bring you. Not just beautiful aesthetics, even though obviously that's very important to me, but it is, the value is obviously the text. The value is the text itself. Of course my mother's right about everything, but you know, she's my on-call academic. I find it very funny. I do any video and I'm like, Mum, what do you think about this? And then she tells me I have to disclaimer my silly little videos. But yes, this is the most important reason why you would pick up Penguin Classics, is because they have the better translations, I think. The value of Penguin Classics is very much, yes, the aesthetics. It's so nice to be able to have so many landmark texts and different sorts of text, history, philosophy, fiction, whatever, in such beautifully consistent and cohesive designs, but then also to have such a wealth of knowledge within the paratext of the book. So that was the paratext I read out was just for Michel de Montaigne. This is Madame de Sévigné. I randomly chose these, by the way, just to give you a sample. My edition of Madame de Sévigné's Selected Letters has the introduction, which also gives you, you know, the introduction, then a note on the historical background, a list of principal persons, and it's just, this is so brilliant. And they are worth their weight in gold because of that. I'm so pissed off about what they've done to the new editions because of how much I value these, because they have that beautiful intersection of paratext and information as well as aesthetics. So, bark and damn it, why would they do that to me? It's just rude. So you know, for me, that is very much why I do think the Penguin Classics, the old Penguin Classics, are god tier, were god tier. There's just so much admin involved in getting the correct editions. So yeah, I feel like I have sufficiently filed my complaint, but it's just, I'm heartbroken, okay? It just, Penguin, why would you do this to me? I've randomly added old editions to this ranking, I don't really know how I've done that. Okay, I'm going to continue being a hater, and the Everyman Classics editions, I so often see these and I just don't get it. They're also hardback editions and I just don't like them. I already know I have a love-hate relationship with hardback. No, it's mainly a hate-hate relationship with hardbacks. I will wait an obscenely long amount of time if it means that I can get the books that I want in a paperback, which is why it's useful that most of the stuff I read, you know, the author's been dead for at least 100 years, so that does help. But the Everyman editions, I don't get it. They're very expensive and they're also just not consistent. I just don't understand, and it's the reason I've not ever bought one, because I've been lured towards that section of the bookshop. We all have. I've had a look and there is nothing in my opinion special about those editions. Nothing that makes them worth buying, apart from the fact that it's a hardback, and they also just look really boring. Like, okay, yeah, I don't necessarily like the Penguin Clothbound editions, but at least they're interesting and fun. They give me something. These don't. So really just like, what is the point? So yeah, they are going in absolutely not, because I just do not see the point of them. I just don't see the point of them. So that is very succinctly my opinion on those. Like, why would you buy that? What is the point? There's so many books surrounding me. I'm surrounded. Oh no. Okie dokie. Ooh, yay, finally. One of the things I want to talk about. Ugh. Ow, ow, ow. Ow, 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 ow. And a surprise to nobody, I've been filming for over an hour. Oxford World Classics. This is going to be very easy. I'm going to rank them already. I love these. I do. I love them. Right, okay, the real reason is why am I not going to give these god tier? During university, I pretty much exclusively bought these. I think my largest single collection of books is Oxford World Classics, and the reason is do they deserve more than love, love, love? Maybe. I don't know. I absolutely adore these covers. I think they are gorgeous. I think they are incredibly consistent. I think these pretty much always have women on the cover when they can. Maybe that says more about my selection rather than their stylistic choices. I think they look incredible on a bookcase together. They don't necessarily have this, just the same like dopamine like surge that you get of like Penguin Classics, like kind of thing, but they still have it. They are very beautiful, and again, they are great additions to buy if you're studying a book. I mainly, like I said, bought 18th century texts and 19th century texts. I don't know if that just means that they have more of them or if that's just the bias I had in what I was buying at the time. So don't take my word on that. I like these because they very often have really, really, really banging paratext. And that is good. This even has a map. That's what I really needed from my copy of Crime and Punishment. Crime and Punishment. That's what I needed from my copy of Crime and Punishment, was a map. And this at least gave me one. This is what I really, really like about these. I wouldn't say the paratext is consistent. Very often it gives me, you know, a chronology, and then it doesn't in a different one, it doesn't. Sometimes there's a map, sometimes there isn't a map. I really like these editions though, because it does really give you what you need to study it properly, or at least well. For example, the contents of my copy of Roxana, this is my favourite book of all time. You get the acknowledgements, introduction, notes on text, select bibliography, chronology of Daniel Defoe. I just really love that. I think they do that in pretty much every single edition, and I think that's great. A map of London, front piece, facsimile, title page, ooh, and an appendix and explanatory notes. I think one of the things I think Oxford World Classics is better at is notes. I don't think Penguin is. Ooh, am I gonna change my opinion? Ooh, no, am I about to change my opinion? Oh, you know what? I'm gonna change my opinion. I'm gonna swap Penguin Classics and Oxford World Classics. Oh my god. So the reason that I've done that is, yes, everything I said about Penguin is still true, but one of the things I will say is I actually do think the typesetting and fonts Oxford World Classic use are more dyslexia friendly. Yeah, I think sometimes Penguin Classics can be quite small, and I don't think Oxford World Classics does that to me. No, it doesn't. So I think the text in these settings, if you're dyslexic, they're better. I also think that they do really good for the 18th century novels, because they do fun things like, where is it? They will do very fun stuff like this that I don't really think that Penguin Classics do. Penguin Classics do is like the text. Oxford Classic does have a little bit more flair and personality. If I say so myself, why would I say so myself? For example, like this is the old title page. Actually, I think my copy of Wuthering Heights, which is Penguin Classic, also has that. Adding these original title pages is very fun, and especially getting this like picture. It's nice because sometimes they have pictures and that's cool. And that's my opinion. They do brilliant paratext, a little bit inconsistent I think, but still really good explanatory notes, because again, they're older text, you need them to understand certain things, because you can't know everything about everything ever. And yeah, I just think these are really fun, and especially in the way that they like respect the original text material. These are all like 10 quid. Okay, this one is £8.99, this one is £10.99. The other thing is I really like the paper. A similar feeling to the vintage classics. The Penguin Classics doesn't do. But yeah, I think these were fantastic copies to study with. They just did exactly what I needed them to, especially at the time. I don't buy as many of these anymore, and I actually can't tell you why. I think it's because I just buy more vintage classics, and maybe because also I haven't bought anything 18th century in a long time, so that's probably also why. I tend to group time periods together with editions that I buy. But yeah, I really do rate the Oxford World Classics. I do think they're maybe a little bit better than the Penguin Classics, but I think the reason I put Penguin Classics in God tier earlier is because I think they're more iconic. They are, and I've swapped them because if you're studying something, buy this, not those. Again, it is a very general thing to say, depends on what it is that you're studying. At the very least, I can say if you're reading something 18th century, get an Oxford World Classic instead of the Penguin one. Or, very simply, when you're in the bookshop and you're looking, grab an Oxford World Classic, grab a Penguin version, compare the two. If you're in a big enough bookshop, you can do this. This really only applies if you're studying or if you're dyslexic. You know, if you're dyslexic, choose a font that you think will be easier. Or if you're studying, choose what you think or seems like the more comprehensive paratext. Read the back and see who it is that has edited them, and then just choose the person who is more qualified, you know, who's been to more universities and are more prestigious, blah 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 blah, that sort of thing. That's how I think you should go about trying to compare them. I really like these, and yeah, it's why I didn't initially put it in God tier, but like they are really, really good for what they are. So I revised my opinions. These are the old versions. I like these as well, because if you look at the new spine and the old spine, this doesn't upset me in the way that like Penguin's like thing does, because this is already, it's right at the top and it's kind of, it stays quite consistent, and it's not just like visually appalling the way that like is, okay? That's how I feel about that. And it's also nice, like, you know, Oxford Classics have always had this like red and white thing going on, even if you look in this even older edition. This is again edition of Roxana. I buy older editions and more varied editions. Ooh, my lighting has changed. Of texts that I like. I just collect them. That's what a collection is. I had a stamp collection as a kid, did you know that? You know that now. You heard it here first. Emma's a loser. I'm making like a 45-minute long video on ranking different classics. You should have been able to come to that conclusion by now. I'm going to also individually rank, yeah, the old editions of Oxford Classics, if you get them, yeah, they're acceptable. They've always had just a bit more paratext, and that's fine. And I still think also visually inside, the older versions are consistent with the newer ones, and there's something very nice about that. So even on their own, I'm going to give those older editions, I'm going to give them an acceptable rating. Ooh. You know what? Let's also then discuss the older Penguin Classic editions. Maybe this is a uniquely Emma problem, but I would love if any of you shared this. I keep accidentally buying these older copies because I'm trying to buy these editions because I want to avoid the new editions. So I keep accidentally buying these. This is Manzoni's The Betrothed. I wanted this copy and now I have this copy. It's very frustrating. I think this is also why Penguin Classics deserves to be bunked down from God tier, because it's caused me issues. The issues may have been pre-existing, but you know what I mean. In terms of how I would rank these, they are nice. They do have paratext, you know. I think it will also be a case that between different editions, the paratext may not have changed. Because maybe this was done by an academic in the 80s and they haven't changed it because they still had the rights to it, so why would they do that? That's just conjecture, I don't actually know if that's true or not. I'm assuming that's probably been done. Yeah, I'm giving these an rating because I'm just the problem is a lot of these fonts are very small, they're bunched. It makes my life as a dyslexic quite difficult. It's not consistent between all of these editions, I will say, but at least for my edition of Manzoni The Betrothed, that's like going to be an issue for me. And it's just quite unfortunate because I was trying to get the original editions that I like and then I couldn't, so that sucks. The spines have always been black, but God, do I wish they hadn't changed the editions. Okay, right, Penguin English Library. I have a few of these. I do not actively buy these. Every single one of these, 2015, 2017, this is also 2015, this is also 2015, so I do not, that was 10, I've had all these books for 10 years. I do not actively buy these. The covers are nice, I don't like the texture of the paper, and it is just Penguin, but the reason I don't particularly like these is because I find them annoyingly inconsistent. Like, if they all had exactly the same spines, maybe. There's basically no motivation for me to have this sort of edition over having this sort of edition. I think I probably bought them out of desperation. The Penguin Mary Shelley one is very cool with all the hearts all over it, but other than that I don't really think any benefit for buying these. Are they a little bit cheaper? Okay, maybe by a couple pounds, but there also isn't a particularly large paratext or anything like that. So I'm not really sure why they even have this as an imprint, because I don't really understand how it gives you anything different. I will say that the text is quite big and quite legible, so if you're dyslexic, maybe this is for what you want. Yeah, they don't come with paratext, do they? If they do, it's a very, very small amount. If you're the casual reader who likes more colourful things, these will be good for you, but I personally don't understand why you would buy these when you could just buy these. or the Wordsworth Classics. Is it because they're cheaper? £5.99, £6.99, £5.99. Okay, they're a little bit cheaper, but marginally. So I'm not going to tell you not to buy them, obviously, but I'm just going to... I don't know. I don't see any additional reason as to why you should spend your money on this over a different book that even Penguin itself publishes. So the texture of this Island of Dr. Monroe is different to this texture of Persuasion. Also, that means that this one is £1 more because of that, apparently. So yeah, not the biggest fan of those. I actually also will say, I get that Penguin is trying to like work their like classic orange, their signature orange in with these, but you've made very colourful editions. So this orange and these other colours looks disgusting. So I just think it looks not a fan. Ooh! I'm excited because I'm now going to talk about something really fun. I've told you multiple times I don't like hardbacks. But it doesn't count if it comes in a box. These are 2 Folio Society editions. One of these is mine, but Folio Society sent it to me. It's like the best PR I think I've ever received in my entire life. I don't accept much PR. I get emails, but I don't accept very much. But when Folio Society were like, can we send you a book? I was like, hell yeah. I think I can link the video in which I unboxed it. It was a very long time ago. Also, another one, this is something that I bought. I spent my own money on, and it was a Christmas present for my brother. So, for the uninitiated, you're about to spend your money, I'm really sorry. Folio Society do beautiful, beautiful editions of classic texts, whether it's philosophy, history, fiction, they do them, and they're beautiful, beautiful editions. I bought my brother this for Christmas. This is Operation Mincemeat. They are beautiful, this isn't sponsored, they do beautiful hardback editions, and then also just text is beautiful. Everything about this has been well considered, it's just stunning, and the thing that I really like the most about Folio Society is their use of prints and images. There was lots of things I could have bought him, but I specifically bought him this because with the story it makes more sense to have pictures. So anything that you think will become a sentimental copy for somebody, and where they can benefit from having visual aids in what they're reading, that's why I like buying Folio Society. I also bought my boyfriend a folio edition of Band of Brothers. It's one of his favourite TV shows, but thank God, he'd never read the book. So it worked really well as like both a sentimental edition, but then because that is like a war-related book, it helps a lot to have, you know, the maps and the pictures and the text because it's historical. So that's why I think they're really good for that. And then this, I've had this for so long, but this never gets old. Like, fuck off, this is so nice. It's abridged. This is my folio copy of Montaigne's essays, which they so kindly sent to me, and I'm still so insanely grateful because when I was googling a picture of it for this video, this retailed, because they do limited print runs, this retails for £140 and they sent it to me. Can you believe that? This is a absolutely stunning and beautiful, beautiful, beautiful edition of a selection of Montaigne's essays. It is so stunning. I am just so insanely grateful for it. Are you insane? It's so beautiful. There is very little to say about this other than like, this really feels to me how editions would have maybe felt a little bit in the past. These beautiful bound copies and the typesetting, just everything about it is beautiful as the object. I love this, but, and there is a but, for the type of text that Montaigne's essays are, it makes more sense for me to have this copy. The reason is, I annotate. You could not bring me to write in this. That's just not going to happen. Folio Society are incredible for sentimental editions. I'm going to keep this for the rest of my life, but I will obviously also keep this for the rest of my life because this is my edition that I have written in and think in and all of those kind of things, and all of my notes are in this. This is my copy. It's difficult because, like, yes, I love the object, it's an incredibly beautiful object, but this is the functional one. So that's like the thing with Folio Society. Not all of them are worth it, but it depends on like what you get out of it. I just get pure joy and enjoyment out of this, but you know, I rarely take it out. Sometimes I mainly take it out to show people. But it's fine because I can show and tell you guys, right? What I will say, however, I have another however, Folio Society do children's editions. They do children's books. They had, and I can't find it anymore, they had this beautiful 2-volume set bound editions with pictures and everything of Calvino's folklore. Calvino went around Italy and he collected folklore. He collected oral stories in a beautiful edition, and Folio had such a stunning one, and I do deeply regret not buying it. I have thought about it so often. Folio Society do the limited print runs. That's why if you see one you like, you kind of have to buy it or it goes away forever. And I have such deep regret about this. Oh, but the thing is, they have beautiful editions for children. They have a really beautiful sort of collected edition for fairy tales and for nursery rhymes. You bet your ass the moment I have a child, I'm gonna buy this. Part of me wants to buy it now because they do limited print runs, but I have to remind myself not to be insane. The thing that I think I would definitely spend a lot of money on, and I know that this will happen, yeah, it would be children's editions. Because like I said with the Oxford children's editions, those are fantastic because they're beautiful. The same applies for this. This would be better when it's the kind of thing that if I have younger children where I'm reading aloud to them, getting beautiful editions where they can look at the pictures while you help them with the words, I think is great. Even to just get them like used to the idea of like enjoying turning a page and just enjoying a book. You know, children will sometimes enjoy it for different reasons than you do. It might not always be the words. So those I think are just stunning, and I cannot wait to have a reason to buy them. It would be the kind of thing I'd give people as a baby shower gift. I mean, they are expensive. That's the other thing about this. They are expensive. £140 for an edition. Like, are you kidding me? But, you know, these ones are like, I think they were £60-70, which again, it's a lot of money. But like, those were the Christmas presents that I bought for my boyfriend, I bought for my brother. So for that, I think, okay, fair enough, especially when you know they're gonna like it. Sentimental reasons, for brainwashing children reasons, and just for the fact that like it gives a beautiful like glory to the book as the object, and I think that is so nice to have a text like so respected, and the fact that they do these beautiful editions that ties in with what text is, and the fact that they do these pictures, like that's great. And especially the kid stuff I think is phenomenal. People at Folio Society are doing their jobs properly, but can they please bring back those nice history editions that have all of the like spines the same of like on the Egyptians or on the Vikings? Bring those back. Where the fuck have they gone? Bring those back, please. I will literally spend so much money on them. Please bring them back. Or maybe don't, that's better for me financially. But Folio Society are just honestly one of my favourite companies, full stop. And they were very kind to me, which was very unexpected at the time. So yeah, for that reason, they get their god tier status with me. They really do. I've spent so much money on Folio Society editions. But I gift them. I really rate them, especially if you're going to use them for kids. Especially if you're giving them to somebody who will read them with their kids. I think that is such a lovely, lovely idea. It's expensive though, so better be for someone you like. Oh my god, am I getting there? Am I getting there? Actually, also, you know HarperCollins? Apparently they have editions of classics. They have their own classics edition series. Yeah, like, I told my mum this and she was like, but they just publish trash. It's not entirely correct, but it's also not entirely wrong. I don't own a single one of them. I don't think I've ever seen them in a shop ever, but apparently they exist, so I can't rank them. That apparently exists. And it makes sense. Like, why would you not, if you are using text that are no longer in copyright and you're not paying an academic to do any of the paratext? Like, yes, you can do very like disgustingly cheap editions of classics, but just because you can doesn't necessarily mean you should. Okay, this is something I really have to complain about. I have so many Penguin Modern Classics. I have so many of them. This is just what I've like pulled to show you. This isn't obviously all of the books that I own. Why are some of them blue? Why are some of them white? Why? Genuinely though, I have such a gripe with the inconsistency of editions of Penguin Modern Classics. The thing with vintage classics, right, is yes, they also have a massive inconsistency in their covers and some of it in their spines. However, there is a rhyme and reason as to why those editions are different. There is no rhyme and reason with Penguin Modern Classics, and I don't understand why. If anybody knows, can you please explain to me, and probably to my comment section as well, because this genuinely drives me up the wall. Why are they so different? Why is this one different? Why is it like that? And then these ones are like, There are so many different versions. Oh my god, this is a different question entirely. I literally have one copy of James Joyce The Dubliners in this like silver, and then nothing else. And I don't know where this comes from or what edition it is even supposed to be part of, so I can't officially rank it, nor will I be, but like what on earth? So earlier, I thought I'd like finally cracked at least a little bit of this code. I was like, okay, I've got my Calvino Why I Read the Classics, okay, and it matches my Virginia Woolf Room of Rondeau. I was like, okay, so if it's non-fiction, you know, it has a photo and it has a big white text. Why? Why? That doesn't make any sense. These three have nothing in common, but they are the ones that have the same spine and then the same little colour penguin. Somebody explain to me why there is such an inconsistency in like a photo cover or this beautiful cover of The Go-Between, which matches my copy of Brideshead Rearrested, which I don't know where this is. I lent this to somebody, I'm never getting it back, am I? I thought I had the same copy here. This is Camus' The Fall and Kafka's The Trial. So why do these covers look the same? But then this looks different. Like, I literally cannot understand, and this actually bothers me, right? It's like genuinely bothers me. Why are all of these covers so inconsistent for no apparent reason? If you know the reason, please tell me, like, what am I possibly missing? Like, because I was also like, okay, I've got Foucault, History of Sexuality, it's got like this white back, you know, the blue, and then like the sort of square cover. And then, okay, you know, Angela Davis, Women, Race, Class, also kind of looks similar. Like, okay, you know, they're more academic, they're more non-fiction, there's things to say. Like, but then Primo Levi's periodic table also looks the same. This is not fiction though, is it? Is it fiction? Oh god, actually don't know. It's not, it's non-fiction. I can't understand. Why is this? Somebody explain it to me. It really, really, really drives me up the wall. And I'm like done trying to figure out why this is. And I don't want any of this. Well, it's so inconsistent it becomes consistent. No, it's not. This doesn't make any bloody sense and I don't like it. Somebody please explain it to me. It's not understanding why that really bothers me. Especially because I'm always going to categorise things on my bookshelf and arrange them by, you know, the back of this. So why are the spines different? And my mum also noticed that like the height of the penguin on the back also is inconsistent. So somebody please explain. It's literally borderline infuriating. But the problem is I won't stop buying these because I love them so much. I do. I really love these editions. It's why I have so many. But you're risking sending me towards Picador Modern Classics if you cut this shit out. The main reason, actually this is exactly why. Do you want to know the main reason I buy so many of these? The fonts are great. It's pretty much always the same font. Their fonts, very consistent. And that, for me as a dyslexic, is why I'll put up with how annoyingly inconsistent the covers are. Because for me, reading them, it's just easier and it's just like borderline, honestly just possible. My biggest reason to buy them and my biggest reason not to buy them, all at the same. And you know, I've just got to pick my evil, right? The other thing with these is they do hold a little bit more paratext. Not always. For example, this Audrey Lorde, The Black Unicorn, It's Poetry, doesn't really have paratext, but they always have at least a small amount to tell you about who the person you're reading is. And again, the older a book will be, the more paratext it will have. For example, this is Memoirs of Hadrian. This has an introduction, it's got a different section than the biographical note, reflection on the composition. There is a lot of like interesting stuff here sometimes. This just has an introduction, things fall apart, Cherry, read this, it's brilliant. This also has an introduction, anything else? Penguin Random House. Is Random House part of Penguin? Has everything I've shown you today been owned by Penguin? This, for example, this is Kafka's The Fall, this is an introduction and select bibliography. This is Camus' The Fall. This doesn't even have an introduction. Having a copy of Camus without an introduction I think is a bit rogue. I have a lot of Camus in this edition, so I'm going to keep doing it. I would say that maybe this is one of my other more controversial opinions, even though I have so many of the modern classics, because I do have a lot of them. I don't think I love them. I'm definitely not giving them God tier. I don't think I love them. I think I buy them out of dyslexic necessity, because in that sense they are good to me, but they're modern classics. They were already classics. They may be, you know, some of them only maybe 50 years old, but you still want that, you know, extra textual information. For example, giving Camus with no intro, I think is really rogue. Especially if I'm paying £7.99 for it, it's like 100 pages. But if you're dyslexic, they are good for you. So, yeah, I want to give you more, but you lack paratext and you lack consistency in aesthetics, even though you are nice in your individual senses. This is a great cover for the trial. The same with Thing Fall Apart, I really like these covers. But you're annoyingly inconsistent, I don't like that. But being dyslexic, your text is my only saving grace for you. So you're going to get acceptable. I see them as a necessary evil. Because what the fuck is wrong with you? I'm done. This is so stupid. I forgot one of my god tier series. This is technically not a book series, but this is absolute god tier and you need to know it exists. The Gutenberg project. For God's sake, I cannot believe that I forgot this. This is absolutely god tier. God damn it, so good. So for those of you who don't know, if you're studying, listen to me right now. Project Gutenberg is a digital archive. It is the oldest digital archive that exists. It's founded from like the 70s. It's digitizing like every single text and archive where possible. It's to do with like preservation and conservation of texts. It depends on copyright laws. We've talked about this already in this video. It's subject to copyright law, but for as long as a text is out of copyright, this website will have it. Another fantastic reason is, first of all, it is a free resource. You can open any of these things on any of these computers. I'm pretty sure that you can also put some of their text and files onto your Kindle and read them. And it is free. It's goddamn free. If you want to talk about the democratization of access to education resources, this is fantastic for that. But also, this is really important if you're studying. If you find the right edition for the text, you can Command F your way through the document. Do you hear what I'm saying? If you have read something in a physical edition and you don't want to spend your time typing up quotes, you can just Command F in a keyword and you can find your quotes. I did this for my dissertation. This is probably one of the most valuable tips that I can give you. Use this website. Contribute to this website if you're an academic and you can. But yes, this exists. It is absolute god tier. Say you're writing an essay on Wuthering Heights. Because it's not in copyright anymore, you'll be able to find the correct edition of the text, and then you can Command F your way and find different quotes that you want. If you can only half remember a quote, you can find it in there if you can't be bothered to like look through and copy. And it also means you could just select things and copy and paste it into your document. You won't have page references, that is true, but you'll be able to not type up every single thing. If you can find it in your text, look it up, and then you can do, you can cross-reference that way for like references or whatever, but use this. I'm so mad at myself that I didn't use it when I was younger, or like earlier into my degree. I don't know how this works with copyright for translations, so I think you have the same problem you do with the Wordsworth editions, if you might have a much older copyright-free translation of a text if it's not in English or whatever language you're working with. But yes, this exists and I completely forgot to tell you about it in the video. This is goddamn tier. It does not technically qualify for what this video is on, but this is such an important resource that there's no way that I can share it with you. So enjoy using Command F for once. I'm done with this video now. This was your comprehensive guide. This was your authoritative guide on, where you should rank different editions of series of classics. This has been a tongue twister to figure out how to explain this to you. I've talked non-stop for 2 hours. This is it. This is my, in my opinion, very definitive ranking of these things. I hope I have done my mother proud. God knows she will have opinions. Oh good heavens. I'm surrounded by books. So if anybody wanted that reorganising my bookshelf video, you're gonna get it soon because my books are all a mess now. It's quite dire. I like this. This actually made me critically think about why I buy certain things over others. Paratext is so important and texts are so important to me because I am dyslexic. I know some of you work in publishing. Could you please think about that a bit more often? It will not make a difference to you if you're neurotypical, but it makes a huge difference to me as a dyslexic and massively in terms of what I spend my money on. Thank you so much for watching to the end of this video. I know it's a long one, my content always is, but I don't give a fuck, this was fun. God. Let me know what your favourite edition series is in the comments below. Why? What you choose to read in certain like editions and in others, and why? And I just want to hear your thoughts. This is what I find so fun about YouTube always, is the dialogue that we can have, and just I fucking love a comment section. I love comments. I think they're so fun. It is the best thing about social video is the goddamn comment section. I pulled I think about 60 books in order to prove my points, but that is what it is. I have not got a chill bone in my body. I'm really fun at parties. I forgot to show you my favourite thing, actually. Some of you may have noticed, most of you will not have noticed. I have a tattoo. I actually have about 5 tattoos. This is one that I probably like the most. It's the most visible. It says Ex Libris. Now let me show you why. This is the tattoo. And then Ex Libris means from the library of. The idea with these sections, by the way, this is from this, is that you would write your name in it. The reason is because Ex Libris is Latin for from the library of. It's got a book plate, so you'd write your name under, being like Ex Libris, and then you would put your name in. So for me it'd be like Ex Libris Emma, and now I have that tattooed on me. So my dad doesn't like it because it's a tattoo. My mum doesn't like it because it's an incomplete sentence. And that is the only criticism I've accepted of my tattoos, because it is a valid point. So yes, where was I? Like, subscribe, and all that jazz. Thank you very, very much for watching, and I will see you whenever the fuck I finish editing this video, because this is quite a long one even for me. So